Well, hi, good morning. Thanks so much for joining me in my shop. Hey, I took yesterday off to watch Mr. Muller's testimony. So I wasn't in here yesterday, but I'm in here today. I think I'm going to go another step, or try anyway, to go another step with this record player. The problem here is a part that needs to be loosened up, and it's totally jammed or stuck, I guess is a better word. And getting it out looks like a disaster. So we're going to look closer at the problem and see if there isn't some kind of solution I can figure out. And also check to see if the part has come loose, which I really doubt. But very first thing we're going to do, I mentioned on the last video that I think I might have wrecked my own personal cartridge, and I found it here in my shop. And so we're just going to take a moment and take a look at the needle on my cartridge. This is for my record player. It's an Ortophon cartridge. And what happened was there's no automatic features in my record player, so when this gets to the end of the record, I got to lift it off. And if I don't lift it off, it just stays on the record. I didn't lift it off. It stayed on the record, with the record turning for 2 or 3 days non-stop. I was horrified to go into my little office and see it going there. When I looked at the record, I swear I saw debris piled up around the groove. You know, it's stuck on the inside groove of the record. 2 or 3 days of that. So I thought, oh my god, for sure I've wrecked this. So interesting to find out. 2 or 3 days, that's 24 hours, 48. Let's say I put 50 to 75 hours onto this cartridge. You know, that's not the end of the world. Cartridges, you should be able to get something like 1,000 hours of record play out of them. Something like that. So, you know, in the big scheme of things, 3 days going around in circles is not maybe the biggest deal. So let's take a look at it. Let's just look at it with the close-up camera first, and we'll see what we can see with that. Well, the needle's still there. Look at how clean this thing is. Wow, I didn't clean this. I didn't do anything to it. How did it get that clean? Holy smokes. There's nothing on it at all. Like no hair, no dust. Wow, I don't know how that happened. That's really quite surprising. So just because I can see the needle there doesn't mean the tip is still there or it's sharp. So let's take a look at it under the microscope. I think that might work a little bit better. And then we'll get on to this disastrous record player here. Disastrous is the appropriate word at this moment for this guy. It's not impossible to loosen up sticky parts, but it may be impossible to get at them without taking vast amounts of the record player apart. Okay, so there you can see my little microscope there, and we'll take a look underneath and see what we see. Looking straight down on the needle. Okay, we're going to try to zoom it up and then focus it in. Let's see how we can do here. Just give me 1 second. Just have to. Looking straight down on it. You can't see too much this way. Again, look at it. It's really, really clean. It's really kind of hard to explain. Okay, let's get a look at it sideways. This might be tricky here. This is a little tricky to do with this cartridge is not going to want to stay underneath. Okay, I'll just hold it here. if I can. Okay, there we go. Focus, please. Okay, so I'm getting it focused, but I'm afraid the magnification is insufficient here. Okay, let's take it up in magnification. Oh, that's kind of odd. It sort of went out of focus and back in again. Okay, can we get it? What are we seeing there? So normally you see a cylinder of somewhat clear plastic looking material coming down, and on the top of the cylinder, on the bottom in this case, is a cone of some similar kind of material, epoxy material, something like that, and at the very tip is the diamond. Well, I don't see that. I don't see the cylindrical shaft. Like, I wouldn't expect this to be totally worn away, but you know, the inside groove, maybe somehow it built up its own grinding power, and because what this looks like to me is the whole thing is ground away. Diamond's gone, everything's gone, and it's just ground down to next to nothing. I don't know. Usually you can see the diamond on the tip. It would grind itself down into a shape something like the groove. Let's look at this thing end on. That's going to be really tricky. How can I do that in this cartridge here? Let's see what we can do. I'll look at it, because I'm thinking it's dragging through the groove. It's going to be shaped like a groove as it gets ruined. So being shaped like a groove. Can we get that to sit in there by some wild chance? How do you like that? If I can get this to sit in the right spot. Is that right? Doesn't look like it. Okay, let's switch back and watch what's happening. It's close, but not quite right. It's gotta be up more like where'd it go? Gotta be up more like this. Here we are. Okay. Hold still. Focus. Nice that I'm right at the limit here. Okay, hold on. We gotta change things a little bit. Sort of a coarse adjust and fine adjust thing happening here. Okay, coarse. Now fine. Okay, there it is. Let's get a little more light on the topic here. This is a built-in light. I don't know what to say. Is that a diamond right on the very tip there? Sure looks like a super sharp point. It's really not what I'm expecting. Well, if it's turned into a shape like a groove, then you'd be looking at the sharp end of a... It'd be a little like dragging a blade through the groove. I'm still not getting it there. So, you know, I can imagine that I'm seeing all the parts of it now. The cone, the diamond glued on the top. Son of a gun, I thought this would be a simple matter. Let's look straight down on it again. Okay, there's a lighting trick that can be used. and looking straight down on these things. Let's see if we can do it here. Let me turn down this light. We gotta get the, that's the needle there. Nope. That's the needle there. So if a needle is good, it's round, cone-shaped thing. Speak English. It's a round, cone-shaped thing. Let's go maximum here on the zooming. It shouldn't have any flat sides to cause flat-sided reflections. Doesn't look like much of anything in there. Okay, now just a touch more on the focusing deal. There. So now we're looking straight down on the needle. Everything should be, you know, around without any flat surfaces. So if I can make light reflect off a flat surface, then we know there's a flat surface there. And we know the needle is ground down. That's the theory. Let's see what happens here. Let me cut off a bunch of light, especially this one right here. Get rid of these. Kind of have one little light shining at this thing. Here we are. So the theory with this is you look right at the point and try to spot a flattened edge. Flattened because it's dragged through a groove. You see, it's very hard to see, but as I move the light around, you see the shadow going around. So you're looking for a flat spot. And there's some hair or something coming up there. This is a little better now. You see the light, like a straight line of light going from the point down to the cantilever along the conical part. I'm going to swing the light around. Watch up near the tip. I'm watching for a well, I don't see any evidence. You know, there's no, see, there's a little, I mean, I've seen bad needles, so there's a little bit right there. That it's just about impossible to tell, really. I mean, I'm not sure at all about what I'm doing here. Let's try this side. A little better focus. See, there's a bit of a bright spot going on there, right there. No flat surfaces. If it's all around everywhere, all you ever see is a point of light reflecting back. Okay. I'm not convinced of anything here yet. Now I did find my little piece of magic eraser, which I had mentioned is a great way to clean the needle. I'll show you exactly how to do it. So you can even pretend this is still on the tone arm here. You just put your magic eraser like that and you just dip it. Don't rub it, don't drag it, don't do anything like that. This is dry, what I'm doing here. Now we'll take a look and see what that did. So it was a pretty darn clean needle to begin with. Let's see what we can see now. Can't see much in the dark. Okay, let's try that light thing again this time. Okay, from the side where I would expect a flat spot to reflect. So there's something there. There's almost looks like a searchlight coming back. It's so hard to see these things for sure. Let's look sideways again. There's a good view of it. Well, looks dirtier now that I stuck it in that Mr. Clean thing. I think it's all there. Let me just max this guy out. Let's get the closest look we can here. Well, now I can see a short shaft followed by a cone, and then right on the top I think I can see where the diamond is, and it doesn't look bad. So this took an awful long time. So either it's worn all the way down to nothing and it's worked its way into looking like a fairly decent needle again, which is a little hard to believe, or it still is okay, that letting it play 40 hours there really didn't amount to anything. Maybe that's the deal. Okay. So back to the turntable here. You know, I'm facing something I've never ever done before, and that's removing the entire pivot point for the tone arm just to access the stuck part. And I'm really looking for alternatives of some sort. Anything I can do to avoid taking all this apart. Never done it before. I'm guessing there's all kinds of difficulties in doing it. I'm guessing there's a high risk that having done it, you will end up with a messed up record player for other reasons. You fix one problem and make 5 more. That's what I'm afraid of. So I'm also a little bit concerned that the end result of trying to fix this is it will go from working manually, I think I can make this work manually, to just not working at all, no matter what. I don't want to do that. I don't want to make that error. Okay, so here we go. This is the business end here that I'm looking at right here. Let's just say it's been sitting here for 2 days. Is there any wild chance it's come loose? Of course not. It's rock solid. So this piece here, very hard to see, but because everything's the same color. This This piece here pivots on a riveted shaft right here. So there's a shaft coming up to this piece. They're riveted together. When the piece moves, the shaft should turn. The rivet holding them together. Now I put a lot of force on this arm to get it to move. I'm trying to break the shaft free inside the sleeve. But what I may have done is I may have loosened the part on the rivet. So the shaft may still be perfectly frozen, and when I'm moving it, I'm just twisting it on the rivet and loosening it off on the rivet. Is all this true? You know, I think so, but I'm not exactly sure. Now, did I really spin it on the rivet? I think I may have. I didn't say anything at the time, but when I was working this and moving it slowly, instead of feeling a very smooth motion, I felt a bit of a jump in it. And that's usually the sign that it's moving on the rivet and not moving in the shaft. So I may have already gone too far with this thing to some degree. Could you forsake the shaft? Leave the shaft is pinned permanently, and just keep working this thing until it's loose on the rivet. So it now pivots on the rivet. You know, that's a possibility. The problem with that is it's not a long-term solution. You'd have to imagine sooner or later it's going to work itself right off the rivet. Once you loosen the rivet flange, I guess you could call it, it's only going to be working mechanically on it. It's just going to get looser and looser. Is that a real problem? So what if it gets loose on the top here? It's less than ideal. Is a record player, you would never issue it from the factory designed that way, because this is going to cause trouble in some of them anyway. So that's a possible angle anyway. Just try to loosen it up on the rivet. What could happen if I try that is I could basically take it right off the rivet, and then this piece will fall off and the shaft would be sitting in there. Hey, that's interesting. I could never get this riveted back onto that shaft, so I don't want to do that. But the interesting thing is that would get this part out of there probably and leave the shaft for me to poke away on. Now the shaft probably has a E-clip on the bottom, down under here, holding it down, and almost certainly comes out this way, comes out upwards. The shaft comes out upwards, it's going to knock into this piece, which is why I can't lift this thing out. With the shaft on here, this piece has to come straight up. And look at it, it goes way up in here. It has to come straight up. There's no other way. All these upper parts have to be removed. Maybe not this, but even this piece may interfere with getting other pieces off. And the end result is I put it all back together and it's all messed up. That's right, because I've never done it before. That's the quandary. Now, maybe you've done this. Maybe you who are watching this right now, maybe you've done this kind of thing and you know what lies ahead. And maybe you know you can do it. It can be done. Me, I don't know that. Look, this is a whole piece right here. What are the chances that all of this is kind of bolted onto this piece? And the only way to get these pieces out, well, I'm talking about it as if it's easy to get these out. The only way to get these out is to get this whole piece off and get underneath it. The only way to do that, for crying out loud, take all this off. Wow. What I'm hoping here as I sit and yap about this is the easy solution is going to suddenly jump out at me. So what's the easy solution? The easy solution is to try the heat thing again. Only this time use a more potent source of heat, literally a blowtorch. Blowtorch, as scary as it sounds, you can direct the heat fairly well with it. Torch it right on here. It's going to heat it up to the bottom of the rivet, right there. But I really want the heat to go down the shaft. You know, if I heat it here and then I get bold and put more tension on it, all I'm doing is increasing the chances I'm going to pivot it on the rivet, which I've probably already done. So I really need to get the heat. You really got to get the heat into this. Okay, so what if I just torch away right here? just bring in a torch. You know, it could be a blowtorch, could be a barbecue lighter. I have a barbecue lighter I could do this with. Actually, that's probably a better start. You try to shoot the heat through this. Now look at this, a whole bunch of metal here. So I mean, as you're trying to make it get hot right in there, the heat is heading everywhere in this thing. So this whole thing's going to get warmed up while I try to focus the heat. Now I got two hands here, so I can easily be torching and twisting at the same time. Torch and twist. Now what's that going to get me? The theory here is that loosens up the shaft and the sleeve. It's all theory. Maybe it isn't even a shaft and a sleeve, but I think it is. It loosens it up, and then get more and more penetrating oil in it, and try to get this thing loose enough that it starts moving on its own. This is supposed to be floppy loose, I'm pretty sure. Floppy loose. It has a light spring, retracting spring, trying to pull it back. Not going anywhere. So I think that's the name of the game. We'll start with the barbecue lighter. We'll apply it on there. We'll try to heat this cast metal up and see if we can't get this thing moving a little more, but at the same time trying to get some solvent to go down into the shaft. Now let's think about this for a minute. What's under here? What's under here? So I see that this is up. It's not laying flat on this piece of metal. There's a spring in there. So almost certainly they have some kind of spacer. Some kind of the sleeve extends upwards to meet the bottom of this lever, and then the spring is kind of around that part of the sleeve. I assume it's a casting, part of the casting coming up. Spring around it. So if I shoot oil in here, it's just going to be down here. I got to get it up here. I got to get it up. I got to get it up underneath the rivet. So I think I got to turn the whole turntable upside down and try to spray it in a way that gravity will cause it to pool up where I need it. I can't do it like this unless I spray so much in there. And then there's parts up here you don't really want to lubricate. I don't think there can be some parts you do not want lubricated. Certainly up here. Watch out, but here, I don't know. Well, I can't think of anything else. Everything else is just even scarier than barbecue torching that. I will go to my barbecue and get my torch. Okay, I didn't want to use any stale gas. I thought we'd use a nice fresh one here, right out of the package. There she is. Adjustment there. There it is. Okay, now so the objective is to apply the heat into this part. All these plastic things just sitting right here. Okay, obviously there's some limits here. I could bend this like this, eh? Hey, that's kind of neat. Okay, and we'll get the screwdriver. Let me get a bigger screwdriver. I'll use my college favorite here. This is my college screwdriver. Guys, attached to your tools. She's burning. She's burning up. Oh my gosh. Quickly, get the hot dogs. Get the hot dogs. Somebody get that. Wow, there's a red hot on there. Okay, red hot on the little spring there. Applying pressure. More. Nothing happening. Okay, we'll let the heat flow a little bit. Yeah, get it right on the arm here. So this is a lot hotter than I expected. In fact, I think it's hotter than my torch. It's moving. It's moving now. Okay, so we've got it loosened up, but barely so. Man alive. Where's my thermal picture? Where's my thermal? I got my thermal camera. Gotta blast a little more heat in there. Oh, there's wires under there. Careful. Okay, I'm gonna let that sit. I'm gonna grab my, where is it? My thermal viewer. Okay, let's see how this goes. Here again, switch on. Now it's been a couple minutes. It took me a couple minutes to find this. I can see just a little bit of heat in there. What is that? It's like 30 degrees. It's not much at all. There's definitely some heat built up in there, but not much. Let's give it another round here. Whew. What's that do? Ooh, that's hotter. That's 38. Look at that temperature. Wait a minute. Let me hold still here. Get right in the red spot there. 38. 38. That's not very hot. 50 would be a little better, but I don't know how to get 50 in there. Like right in here. You know what, dude? Heating up that spring. How much you want to bet I've taken the springiness out of the spring by heating it up? I metallurgically changed it. So what we got? I don't know. Here we go. You know what? If this isn't moving a lot by now, I think bring my lucky screwdriver in. I think we're done on this. Oh, yeah. See, it's kind of jumping there a little bit. You can't see it. I can feel it. I have had parts just stunningly loosen up. They've gone from really stiff to, you know, I did not put lubricant in there either. That's moving, but it really feels like it's moving on the rivet. See that bump there? I don't know if you can tell it's doing that. Yeah, it's bumping. How would I ever know what it's doing from up here? Huh. I'm not gonna. Okay, so this isn't gonna work. So I think the only solution to this part is to take it all apart and put it all back together. Yeah, putting it back together is an important part of the solution, sure. So let's look closely at this now. How much of this has to come apart? It just looks like everything that's on this center shaft has to come off. Spring here holding parts together. How much of this is just being held by this spring? Not much. Maybe this top piece here. What is that? I don't even know what that is. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Like this is just the last thing you want to fiddle with, I'm pretty sure. How would I even take it apart? I don't even know. And all these painted locked screws here. Wow. These may be locked down at a certain point, to provide a certain level of a certain level. And they've been done with instruments or in a jig or stuff like that. So in the factory, they get it right every time. Well, you can sit here and watch me think. I don't think that makes for a good video. So, I wonder if there's a cover I can get off up here. Maybe see more. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe I can do something to see more. Where is Seymour? Seymour, get in here. I got to do something to you. Luckily, no dripping plastic coming out of here. So, can I get this off? Can I get this off? Okay, so this is the top of the shaft I'm talking about. Hey, hey, hey. And a great big nut on here. I got a spring here. What's the spring for? The spring is here. spring is for situations where the arm has reached a limit, like they only want it to go so far, right? They don't want it to bang into this, and they don't want it to go so far out it's getting lost in the cabinet on this side. So they put these plastic limits in here. But so occasionally the mechanism wants to push past that, so the mechanism is allowed to push back again past it, and the spring takes up the when the turning past it is finished, the spring recovers the mechanical position and relationship of all the parts. Anybody get that? So fairly easy to get this off of here. What good would that do? No good. That's easy. Taking this off, even taking this off. So I think I'm going to have to find some kind of instructions on this, but it looks like you just take this off, and then I guess this bracket just lifts off. Would the whole thing fall out the bottom then? The whole thing? Let's take a closer look at this. Let's take a closer look. That is what we're doing, isn't it? We are taking a closer look. So, okay, so here's the spring that I believe is accommodating, let's call it overdrive or over rotation in the mechanism beyond where they want the tone arm to go. The mechanism has to go somewhere, and they don't want it to take the tone arm with it. So they've done this. So there's a chance these pieces are keyed onto the shaft. These two brackets. There's this bracket and then this one down here. And it's possible they're keyed on the shaft somehow. So they only go on a certain way. But it's also possible they're not. And they're on here in a very, very specific way. Again, put together with jigs and stuff in the factory. Here in my shop, I put it together with not much more than imagination. So how would you take that nut off? It's pretty attractive to put a driver on there, or a nut driver, and just drive it off. But can you turn it against that thing? Or will that piece in the middle just turn too? You may need to grip it underneath to hold the shaft part in here, while applying torque to that nut. That nut may be torqued down to a certain amount. See the rubber piece underneath? It looks like a rubber washer. This may have been carefully done to provide a very specific amount of pressure and tension in there. I mean, it doesn't look like it, but you know, I don't know. This is not compressed by the nut. It's just going around. So it's maybe that plastic part, black part's more than a washer. More light, please. So now we see a large piece there. That could be part of the shaft structure. It could be part of the shaft. And you simply tighten this nut down, squeezing all that stuff against that lower cast part, which is part of the shaft. So you could have to guess, if this comes apart, it comes upwards. But how can it come upwards with all that stuff underneath? It's going to go downwards, then the shaft would have to pull through that ring there, the piece I'm talking about. It's down under here. That piece down under there. So what would happen if I took this nut off and then decided, whoops, that's not a good idea, and put it back on? It might be on my way to an awful lot of effort. Looks like I can get the nut off and the spring can stay there. But who knows what happens when you get that nut off. Swing! I don't think that's going to happen, but I've had that happen. Where you're taking something apart and then you listen to the sound of the little parts hitting the floor all around you. Okay, let's flip this guy over. Study the underneath part. We know what's going on top. Or at least I got an idea of what's going on top. What exactly is going on down here? Oh my gosh. Wow. Can I take the top off and then this whole cast piece here comes out? Whole thing comes out together. One big unit. Maybe that's the case. Maybe it does work like that. I think I just pushed this into no man's land. I pushed it all the way until it fell into there. I bet it's never supposed to be there. It would get stuck there maybe. I don't even know what this is. What is this? It's a piece I can mess up. That's what it is. Well, to take this off, and only this, so I can see a screw way down through there. Oh boy. Okay, there's a screw. See, there's this piece being held to the cast piece. I'm after the cast piece. Looks like this screw goes all the way through. And on this side it's a nut with an arm. Look at all this stuff here. All of them painted in place. Boy, that sends a big message. You see, they didn't paint these ones in place. They don't care. There's something about all these. Probably a tension issue on these. It's funny, they kind of... That's interesting. I wonder why they... That's kind of weird. Whoop. My camera shooting here is not so good. There. That's kind of weird. Kind of stuck the end of the spring here in the... Oh, it goes through a hole. Interesting. Okay. Okay, well, I'm befuddled. Quite befuddled. And one thing I didn't do is I didn't read the comments from my first video, but I think I just have no idea what to do here. Really. Well, let's look at the possibility of it working manually before I muck this thing up and we get nothing out of it. So, can this be made to work in a manual mode? Part of the problem is I think the switch lever up here is in the wrong position for that. The reason I'm saying that is because the motor didn't turn when I plugged it in. So for that to be the case, this thing has to be operating a switch. Look at that. There's the switch right there. Now, isn't this just the silencer for the cartridge? So let's see, the two wires from here show up over here. Hey, one's going right into the power. The other one's coming here. I think that is the power switch. Yeah, because here's the cartridge. If they had a switch on the cartridge, we would find it on the cartridge wire. Here's the cartridge wire here, just cabling away. So for sure, this is the actual on-off switch. And sure enough, the lever is keeping it from doing something. What I'd have to do then is... wow, this is a bit of a problem. You'd have to make this permanently on. And that might mean permanently on. That might mean I put this whole thing back together in the console and the turntable turns permanently. It just doesn't ever stop. That would require an additional switch to be installed to take manual control over the motor. It's possible that's required anyway because this switch may just be unusable with this link stuck where it is. I'm sure I could probably force things and get the switch into the appropriate position. But there really is no turning it on and off. With this is the on and off. Oh my gosh. Once again, we're right back to I better get this to work right. The other thing about this mechanical arrangement is it's doing things with this. This might be part of the picking up the record at the end. This is almost certainly part of picking up the needle rather at the end of the record. All that would be disabled. That wasn't exactly a round of applause there. What else is stuck in here? Maybe I'm not even getting to the root of all the stuckness. Could be more stuck things in here. It certainly feels good. Force this into a position where this is in the correct position to close the switch and it's on. Install another switch somewhere, maybe on the platter, maybe somewhere else in the turntable. Turntable motor switch, on and off. And just say goodbye to the automatic record dropping, the automatic arm coming over, and the automatic pickup at the end. Kind of turns this into a really boring record player. It's not the best drum set either. Well, yeah, I guess you can tell I'm totally stuck. I really don't know which way to go here. So in that case, I will go nowhere. I will put this aside, give it a couple of days, and we'll work on my other project, the jukebox project, and all the hairy stuff going on with that one. Great. Yeah, I don't know. That's it. I don't know. Terrible video. Not sure I'm going to post this. If I do, I did post it and you watched it, thanks. Thanks for watching, and wow. Hey, it's a great day. Sunshine. Hey, I'm going outside. Fantastic. Oh, wait a minute. That's not the end of the video. I was editing the video and realized I had never turned this over and sprayed in the WD-40 to get the gravity effect. So I did that, and I thought I'd just leave it sitting, but then I thought, no, let's flip it over and see what's happening. So here's what's happening now. See? We're getting a tiny bit of very free movement. So I'm going to force this to go further. Now, I don't know for sure what's happening, but it could be it's just coming looser and looser on the rivet. It has that feel to it. Get the impression I'm losing patience here. Yes, I am. I should heat this up again. Now it's loaded with WD-40. Wow, that just feels really the way it's popping there. That's not bad. I like that. So what if I get this loosened up on the rivet like I was talking about earlier? Is that the end of the world? Just trying to move it a little bit further every time. Let's put some heat in. Get some heat in there, man. Whew. It's farther yet. It's going farther every time. So if the shaft is turning, then you can imagine some of the lubricant is getting in there. I'm getting dizzy from the smoke here. A little further every time. Get a bigger screwdriver. There's my killer. The killer screwdriver. Big handle. Lots of power. Whoa! Don't go too far with it here. So now there is some limits in here. This looks like one limit where it is right now. It's going to go this way and throw the little switch here. This is where it can go. Further, 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 and further. Look at that. Oh my gosh, I've actually got it moving. Just when I think all is lost, right? Isn't that how that often works? Just when you think that there's nothing more. You know, it's still pretty darn stiff, but the fact is, I think we're going to succeed here. Do you hear the click? That was the switch operating. It's either the switch operating or I just broke it. One of the two. There's the switch again. Look how far in I got it. Wow. Let's try to move it from this lever here. Yeah, yeah. Come on, baby. Look at that. Just when you think there's no hope. Okay, it's still sticky. The other thing I did was I really laced it with WD-40. Pushing this at its limits. How many of these are left in it? 200 switches. I'm going to use 100 right now. Yeehaw! Just having some fun there. Okay, so I think I'm going to load this with some more WD-40 and leave it. And I say load it. Yes, but you know it's hard to spray a tiny amount of WD-40. I'd like it right under here. I spray enough, it's going to get everywhere. Right. Yeah, everywhere. So, getting up. Okay, let's move this guy now. Is that normal? I don't know. It's still sticky. Still feels to me like it's just pivoting on the rivet. So if it's pivoting on the rivet, what I'm doing is I'm kind of wearing out what's left of the rivet grip. That would make this thing kind of wobbly too. Oh, it doesn't feel wobbly at all. Not feeling wobbly. Feeling really solid. So if that's the shaft, I get out towards the extremities. Maybe something else is binding in here. I'm being fooled. Funny little mechanism working here. Click. Click. Yeah. So the heat seemed to really help. Want more heat? I got more heat. More heat. Can you heat this a little more generally? Whoa, that's smoke coming up there. Don't hit any wires with this thing. Right on the bracket here. Whew. How hot is that? How hot is it, Jim? 50, 40, not terribly hot. Hot, not so hot I would burn myself. Okay, let's work it. Work it, baby. So it's still sticking at the extremities, bumpy along the way. What are the chances you can work it from the top? Okay, there we go. So I think if I were to leave this now for a few hours, that solvent would only help the problem. Can we work this? Okay, watch the lever here. Oh my gosh, it feels normal. That feels normal. I hear a cat calling. Well, I think we got somewhere. Wow. Holy smokes, I think I was ready to give up totally. It really was. I was finishing the video when I decided to do this last step. So, you never know, man. Persistence pays off. Thanks for watching, and I'm heading outside to play with cats, and I gotta cut my lawn today. See ya.